In this episode, we are talking about how to deal with negative people so that you can stay high vibe. My name is Jen Casey. I'm a business strategy coach, and I also do NLP, and I work with online coaches and entrepreneurs who want to turn their social media into sales. Now, this is a big thing in entrepreneurship, and it spans not just the people in your life generally, but it also kind of goes into your following, your close friends and relationships, your family, and your clients. When we're looking at Facebook or social media, if you have certain people that are showing up on your feed and it doesn't align for you, now this could be people who are from high school, it could be friends and family, you are running a business using social media. And so I so encourage you to treat your social media platforms like a business. Would these be people that you would want in your office all day? Probably not. So if you don't want to see the messaging that they have to offer, if it's political or negative or they're complaining all the time, you have two options. Three options, really. One, you can unfollow them so that they're just not popping up in your newsfeed. Number two, you can even make a broader or more authoritative, energetic claim by just unfriending them. Now, for new entrepreneurs, this can be a really scary thing. You're like, oh my God, but like, what if so-and-so figures out that I unfriended them? That's okay. It's gonna be okay. I promise. There may be some people who are offended. But I believe it's important to just let those people know that you are now treating this platform like it's a business. So even for me, I primarily work with women, and I'm almost maxed out on friends on my Facebook page. So there's some people that I've had to go back through and say, I'm gonna have to delete this person, not because I don't like them, not because they're a bad person, just because I'm running a business and I wanna make that space and hold that space for people who actually want to connect with me and collaborate, network, and listen to my message and hang out and learn and grow together. So I want to make sure that I have that space available. Now, I've heard a lot of particularly newer entrepreneurs who are not ready yet to go on live video, or they're feeling scared and they're like, well, what if so-and-so from high school sees my live video and they start talking trash and they start judging me and making fun of me? And like, all of these stories come up. If there's people in your life, if there's family who you're afraid they're gonna like be rude about something, or if there's friends in the past who you just don't want to see your stuff, if those are the people, the mind reading that you're doing, you're saying, well, they're gonna judge me. If that is what's stopping you from stepping into your greatness, get rid of them. Get them off. Then they don't need to be part of what you're creating. That doesn't mean they can't be your friend outside of Facebook, but they don't need to be on your page, right? Leave that space open for the people that you want to invite in. So you have three options, like I said, for Facebook and Instagram and all of these things. Well, specifically for Facebook, this one. But you can unfollow, you can unfriend, and third option, specifically and only for Facebook, only for desktop, is you can get something called the Newsfeed Kill or the Newsfeed Eradicator. And this is a Google Chrome plugin. So if you're using Safari or something else, you'll probably have to switch to Google Chrome to get this option. But essentially what it does is it blocks your newsfeed. So all of the posts that are coming up, I don't see them when I go onto my computer, which is fantastic as a business owner because it keeps me super focused and productive. So when I go onto Facebook on my computer, I know I'm gonna go check into my academy groups and any course groups that I'm running. The people who have invested, right? Those are gonna be my priorities. Then I'm gonna look at, my notifications and connect with people who have specifically commented on my content so that I can engage with them. I'm gonna go into my free Facebook group and connect with those people. But I'm not gonna waste a million hours liking and posting on random people's stuff, right? If I want to specifically set aside, 20 minutes a day or 10 minutes a day to connect with and like certain people's stuff. I know a lot of you guys in network marketing, that's part of the growth strategy that you're taught. That's fine. Do that on your phone. Because I'm sure you're looking at, I pick up my phone all day long, right? Recently, I have not been doing that and I'm really proud of myself. But right, so we just need to separate it. And you're gonna be so much more productive and you will feel so much better because you're not taking in all that noise. Because if you're not, like, if Facebook hasn't like really done a good job curating your Facebook newsfeed and the algorithm hasn't fully clicked in yet, who knows what you're reading? Who knows what you're seeing? And your subconscious mind is taking in 2.3 billion bits per second, while your conscious mind is only taking in 126 bits per second. So that means that every single thing that you are looking at on social media is being recorded and stored. So if you think that the noise from the media and the news and everything else that's being shown isn't impacting your energy, it's science, right? Like, this is backed in science and psychology. It's proven and tested. And the 2.3 and the 126, that was from a book, Flow. So you can check that out if you want to reference that. But so that's just the first piece, right? We've got to protect our energy as we build online businesses. So Facebook peoples, or your Instagram peoples, or your Snapchat peoples, if negative energy or comparison or all of these things are starting to kick in when you're looking at certain people's content, like, it's not personal, you need to take care of you. You need to prioritize you. If you're not able to show up and make an Instagram story because you just watched 3 Instagram stories of influencers that you like and now you're comparing yourself, sorry, bud, you need to unfollow those people. Otherwise, when are you going to feel like you have something to say? Don't let that stop you. So just know that about yourself. Okay, so dealing with negative people in terms of friends. You guys want to talk about this? So when it comes to friends, and this whole conversation was really inspired by one of my academy students who said, I have a question. How do you keep your positive energy in check throughout the day when the average person you meet/interact with, whether a friend or acquaintance, tries to connect with you over negative things like, hey, how are you? Sigh. Oh, you know, the same shit. Insert overused joke about wanting to sell a baby. I don't know that reference. So the question was, how do you bring the conversation upbeat and keep your good vibes flowing without sounding like an a-hole, assuming that you have, that you're like a know-it-all or something like that? How do you not sound like a know-it-all and not just go along and agree with that person? Sincerely anxious and ready to vibrate higher. So I totally get it. You don't want to indulge in someone else's negative energy, and I don't think you have to. You don't have to. So especially if it's somebody who's a friend or acquaintance, decide whether or not you want to keep that person in your life. It really comes down to that. And if it's something where you're starting to really notice that you no longer align with that person, it can be really painful, sometimes like a breakup. But you can simply start distancing yourself from that person. Now, the second question is, are they open to support and some reframes? And I'll share some of them with you, and they're very subtle. They're not coaching the person, where you can just kind of get a little pulse on whether or not they want solutions or they want to complain. Now, I've had friendships in my life, and fortunately or unfortunately, I've had to distance myself from those individuals because either when we would spend time together, it would just become a venting session where there was no reciprocity, there was no give and take. It was just all about them dumping. And I was like, listen, I'm not a therapist and you're also not a client. So this does not feel fun to spend time with this person. And the relationship, it was not serving me. And I think relationships, there needs to be give and take. So if you know that there's certain people in your life who are just not in alignment with where you're growing, that's okay. But you need to make a decision about how you want to proceed. And listen, you may be in a place where you've been doing a lot of personal development recently and you're only suddenly realizing this contrast. And this kind of goes into point 1, but seeing this contrast is helpful. It's a good thing. Even though it feels shitty to be like, oh my gosh, I hate all my friends, or oh my gosh, I hate my job, and I just suddenly realized all these things. Abraham Hicks, when they talk about manifestation, vibration, law of attraction, if you are noticing things that you don't like, it's not about judging or shaming yourself and saying, why are you noticing that? Why are you focusing on that? Sure, we want to shift our focus, but just in acknowledging the things that you don't want, you're able to basically have contrast. And the contrast is, oh, this is where I am and this is where I want to go. So in having the crap piled on, the negativity, the flops in your business, the quote unquote failures, you're able to get clarity around what you do want. So anytime you notice yourself in a place or acknowledging something that you don't want, just realize that there's two sides to every thought. There's the I don't want side, and there's the I do want that side. So if you acknowledge and notice that your friendships are a certain way, I would encourage you to first figure out and get clarity around what you would want the relationship to look like, right? You want to know how you would like to help to transform that relationship. Oftentimes, whether it's a coaching relationship, a family member, a friendship, you both started here at the same vibration. And I remember even when I worked in a restaurant at TGI Fridays, everyone was pretty much at the same, and I don't like to do levels like this, like, oh, we're going above the person, right? Let's just go parallel. Like, everybody that worked there was here, vibrating in this frequency. After work, it was pretty much the tradition to complain about, oh, how much money did you make? Oh, so-and-so stiffed me, or blah, blah, blah. And it was just a complain fest for 2 hours while everybody drank. Now, when I first started working there, I was pretty much in the lowest of lows. I was like rock bottom, hiding my depression, hiding my anxiety, almost dropped out of college, not in a good place. Like, I was that girl on Facebook back in like 2010 that would be like, gotta go to work tomorrow, like, gonna have to like have Red Bull. Like, it was not cute. And if you guys don't believe me, like, I have pulled up some old statuses. It's embarrassing. It's really rough. But listen, this is where I was. So I was like all the way over here, let's say on the right side or left side, however you're seeing this. And when I started to grow and develop myself spiritually, emotionally, and release old limiting beliefs, limiting decisions that no longer served me, I started to shift. And then I really started to notice that I was not wanting to spend as much time with those people. I was not in alignment with those people. And that journey has only continued to even maybe about 2 years ago, I got together with a friend from high school, and I was in a really good place with my business. I was in a really good place emotionally, spiritually, financially, and she started talking about how money is so hard to come by, and she's so broke, and like, this is just the way it is, and like hustling and all this stuff. And I couldn't actually, and we never spent time together again, because I think it was clear to both of us that we were just not on the same page, because I was not willing to sit there and affirm something for her that wasn't true. But I'm also not going to sit there and coach someone who's a friend. And I was like, oh, okay. Like, I wasn't like, yeah, I totally know what you mean. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to lower my vibration and speak something that's not my truth out into the universe. I don't want to attract that. I'm not speaking that, right? Sometimes you just ignore it, or you pivot and change the conversation. Now, if it's somebody that you're very close with, kind of moving into like family or like really close friends, things might be different, right? You're like, well, I can't phase that person out of my life. I can't just get rid of them, nor do I want to. And there may be a lot of guilt for you, perhaps, I don't know. I've seen this for a lot of people, that there's a lot of guilt about kind of separating themselves from people that no longer serve them. And they'll say things like, well, you know, they're my friend, how could I do that to them? And if you've never seen this before, Lisa Nichols has a great snippet where she shared her story on Steve Harvey. It went totally viral, but she talks about how she was basically living in the ghetto. And, you know, people were giving her a hard time about trying to get out and make a life for herself and become better so that she could serve the world and the planet and herself and, you know, vibrate at a higher level and feel good. And if she's in The Secret, if you've seen it. And she has this great line where she's like, people were like, oh, why are you trying to like leave us behind? She's like, y'all don't even want to be here. Why am I going to stay here with all of you? Like, you don't even want to be here. You're not even having fun. So how am I helping anyone by adding more momentum to this? Right? It makes no sense. So I'm giving you that permission if you need it. Sometimes we need it. I'm giving you that permission to think about this in a different way. Okay? Yeah, maybe? Like, you're not helping your friends by being that other person in the group that's also complaining about stuff. And I know from a psychological standpoint, we want to be accepted into the tribe. And so going against what other people are saying can feel really weird. But I'll tell you something, when I was in college, I remember sitting there thinking that there was something truly wrong with me, because we would go out to these parties and everyone would be like partying and drinking and like posting these pictures on Facebook about how they were having the best time in college. And like I said, I almost dropped out of college. I was freaking miserable, so depressed. Like my self-worth was a 0. And I never shared with people how out of alignment those environments felt for me. I just assumed that I was the only one. And years later, maybe this was like 2 years ago, I had shared a story on social media about how that felt so out of alignment for me. And I cannot tell you how many people wrote on that post, sent me inbox messages and said, oh my God, my entire life I thought I was alone about the way that like American culture is with college. This is how you're supposed to experience college. And they just did it because everyone else was doing it, but they felt miserable along the way. So by giving your close friends and family a new opportunity to change your dynamic, change your relationship, if you offer that up to them or just slowly start to guide them in a different way, you might be surprised at how people will respond to you. And what I mean by this is a lot of times we're afraid to grow, right? It's like, well, my parents know me a certain way, my friends know me a certain way, this is what they expect of me and from me, so this is how I have to be. And I'm really grateful that I have some really close friendships where we can have very real and raw conversations because they're all about growth as well. And we've had conversations where it's like, hey, you know, we are spending a little bit too much time focused on what we don't want right now. Or hey, we were just like venting about this thing for a really long time and we're kind of getting into a bad habit of that. So instead, next time we jump on a mastermind call, I'm glad we got to like vent this out to somebody who gets it. But next time we get on a call, let's set some clear intentions before we begin so that we know exactly what outcomes we want to achieve and really make this an impactful call where we feel high vibe after. Like this was a good healing and release, but like we've got to make sure. And it's like, yes. And with my close friends who I have in my inner circle right now, 100%, they're always on board with that. They are always willing and ready to step into that higher level with me. Oh my gosh. Oh no, the name just cut off, but I think it was Luna said, pretty sure I was right there with you in 2010, was a bartender at Bubba Gump Shrimp & Co. Yep, you are not alone. 100% not alone, right? So just to quickly recap, if it's Facebook people that you're like, these are negative people in my life, unfollow, unfriend, or get the newsfeed eradicator so that you're not having to see it. If it's people in your if it's like acquaintances and friendships that are not super close, decide if you want them in your life and decide if they want to actually grow along with you. And if they're people that you really, if they're just like, you know, you sometimes have those friends that are just fun friends. They're not the people you're going to have those deep, intimate conversations with. You're not going to share your life story with them, but they're just like fun to like go out bowling with or go see a movie with. Like that's fine. As long as it's leaving you feeling high vibe with a positive experience, then, you know, have your friends however you want, right? Like there's no rule. I'm just encouraging you to say like there's options. There's options and you get to choose because this is your freaking life and it's the only one you got. So if there's people dragging it down like a little bucket of crabs, no thank you. Do you guys know that? Like crabs, you put them in a bucket. You put one crab in a bucket, it'll climb out and run away. You put more than one crab in a bucket, and if one tries to escape, all of the other ones will pull it down. So you don't even need a top on a crab of buckets because they'll just pull each other down. So if you've got a bunch of crabs in your community, in your 5 people you spend the most time with, it's time to create some space and invite some new people in. Okay, so when it comes to family, right? You're going, okay, are they wanting to change? Now this can be challenging. I've experienced this myself with close family members, and you're like, well, what do I do? Especially in the beginning of entrepreneurship. I'm just gonna call out some of my family here. I won't name names, but there was a lot of doubt and fear around what I was creating. Now, both of my parents, my mom has her own business, my dad had his own business, and they both, you know, did pretty well with what they created. But there was still a lot of confusion and fear around me stepping into online business. Like, what is this? Is it gonna work? And they were giving me quote unquote advice, but it was coming When I look back, I'm aware now that it was coming from a place of love, of wanting to protect me, of wanting to make sure that I would be taken care of. But in the moment, when you're having somebody come and tell you that you shouldn't be doing and pursuing what you want to pursue, it can sting. Like, it hurts. You're like, yo, why don't you support me? Why are you not supporting me right now? And it can be frustrating and confusing and can hold a lot of people back, especially if they highly, highly value their parents or spouses or best friend or siblings' input. I've seen many people give up on their dreams because they made deals with their husbands that after 3 months, if they didn't make 6 figures, they were gonna quit. And like, to me, that's absolute, like, that's ridiculous. Like, that's crazy pants. But yeah, I mean, it can be really frustrating. I've been there when the people in your life who you love the most don't see your vision and they don't support your vision. But I just want to remind you that when it comes to talking about your business, you don't need to take any business advice from people who have not already built a successful online business. Just plain and simple. Like, that's very nice that they're, wanting to protect you and see it for what it is. See it as their own fear that they didn't fulfill X, Y, and Z. And maybe they read something about how online business owners or business owners in general fail in the first, year, whatever. Just know that they are filtering their quote unquote advice that you probably didn't ask for through the information and experiences that they've had. And so if people come and say to you things like, well, it's really hard to build a business, you can say, like, according to who? Or how specifically? Or, if it's somebody who maybe is also a business owner, you'd be like, oh, when did you decide that? Or how do you know that? And so then you're going to kind of gather their resources and find out where this is actually coming from. And you can just keep asking those types of questions. And I have to tell you, a lot of times it has nothing to do with you. So it's hard to say don't take it personally, but I just want to encourage you to give yourself that little bit of a reframe. Okay, so like I said, you're seeing the contrast when there's negativity in your life. And you're wanting to get closer to feeling high vibe and positive. So when we're talking about those close friends, family members, and even clients. When you start to notice that people are not vibrating the way that you want to vibe, one thing that you can do, and this is extremely subtle, is you can get into rapport with them. So what I mean by this is you would take a look at their physiology first. That's 55% of it. So their breathing rate, how they're moving their arms. Did they take a sip of a water? Did they scratch their head? Did they blink their eyes? Like, you can do blinking rate, all these different things. And I go far more into this I'm going to be going into this more in a course that I'm creating in a few weeks, talking about sales and getting in rapport with people. But yeah, you can start to acknowledge and notice their physiology. Are they crossing their legs? How are they breathing? And then you can go into their voice. So the quality of their voice, the vocal patterns, then we go into words, the key words that they're using, the phrases that they're using. And you choose 2 things to mirror. So what I mean by this, they pick up water, drink it, you pick up water and drink it. They cross their leg, you cross their leg. You cross a leg. Or you can cross an arm. And you do 2 things. And then you do something. So then scratch your nose and see if they do it. And if they do what you've done, you've effectively done pace, lead. So now you've built rapport with that person. And that's one option. So once you are in rapport with someone, you can effectively help them to change. So if you're out of, when you meet somebody and you're like, oh God, they were so weird. Like, I don't know, there was something about them. And then you meet someone else and you're like, I don't know what it is about them. Like, I just connected with them on a soul level. Like, we were just best friends instantly. It's because you naturally got in rapport. So this is not something that requires like hours and hours of practice. It's something you already do. I'm just encouraging you to go and do it more consciously and intentionally, especially when there might be some tension or difficult conversations that need to happen. So getting in rapport is so key. Now this would be for your people in your life, your friends, your family, and your clients especially your clients. Because as they say in NLP, there's no such thing as resistant clients. There's only such thing as clients that are out of rapport with you. So if your clients aren't budging, it's because you've broken rapport in some way. And so we want to take a look at that. And that could be a whole other topic, a whole other episode. So let's just kind of dive in really quick. This is number 3. If there's people who are giving you a tough time, for example, let's say they say, it's hard to make money. you want to give them a reframe, right? You can. So find out if it's a client when they made that decision. Like I'll say to my clients, oh, when did you make that decision? So we're finding the day, the time, the moment that they can recall where they made that limiting decision, or I'm not enough, or I'm not an expert, or I'm not worthy. Great, when did you make that decision? And they might say something like it's hard to make money, or money, you have to work hard to make money. You can ask them how specifically, or according to whom, or when did, like I said, when did you decide that? All of these little things, and there's so many other questions that we can use, but these three are really, really powerful. Now, the beauty of this is you're not giving advice, right? You're not giving advice. Because how many times do people come and vent to you and you go and you give them some advice? Now, what happens here, and this is not only with friends and family, but also with coaching, right? If you have people who are coming into your inbox for free coaching, and instead of asking questions like what they're looking to achieve, if you immediately jump into giving them direction and advice, what's going to happen? They go off and they start implementing. But is it enough? Don't they like, you know, that just, you know, if they have a gut problem, just taking out dairy alone, no, they probably need some accountability. They probably need other things. So then if that doesn't work, or if they don't stick to it successfully, who's getting blamed? You are! You are now getting blamed for them not getting results. Oh, well, I took so-and-so's advice and it didn't work. So do you think that client's going to come back to you? Probably not. Probably not. So instead of giving advice, because I think everybody's a little adviced out, when you're working with clients, give them the reframes. When you are with close friends and family, you have some options. If you feel like they're going to be open to some quick reframes, you can do that. Or you can literally ask people, do you want me to offer something? Not offer advice. Not offer advice, just offer something. Oh, how specifically, right? Do you want me to offer something, or do you just want to vent? Another thing you can say is, do you want the friend response or the coach response? Now, if you're really wanting to like kind of shake somebody out and help them break their state, now this is more higher level if you're doing coaching and this is something that your clients are cool with and you've made that agreement, but you can kind of have them answer like, do you want to keep telling this story, or do you want to find a solution? Are you ready to change? Because we can keep revisiting the story, but I don't think it's making you feel good. I don't think it's serving your highest purpose. So choice is yours, but those are the options on the table. So that's a little bit more, could be seen as more of an abrasive thing. So if you don't feel comfortable in kind of showing up that strong for your clients and you feel like they're not going to respond well to it, then they probably won't. But if you have that dynamic in that relationship with them and you've established those expectations and boundaries up front, then go for it. And the beauty of giving them the or question, it's called a double bind, and essentially they are getting to choose, right? They are getting to choose what they want to do. So instead of you telling them you need to break out of this story, they're probably not going to choose the thing that's negative, right? They're going to want to say, I want to change, I want to get better, because that's why they came to you as a coaching client, right? So if you are coaching, now this is just a total sidebar, but I just wanted to quickly include this because it kind of ties it all together. If you have people in your life who want to work with you, but they are your friend, you may run into some issues. And you may have already experienced this. Like I know when I was first a health coach, I would have friends come to me for help and support and advice. And then we would go out to eat together where the dynamic was not coach and client, it was friend to friend. But the power dynamic or the role dynamic had gotten confused because they decided to work with me. And now all of a sudden they were like, oh my God, don't look at me, I'm gonna eat this burger. Or don't judge me, I'm gonna have this brownie. And I was like, listen, you live your life, you're responsible for your own results. I am here to hold space for you as a coach, but right now we are friends. Right now, don't even worry about it. But as you can see, that gets a little tricky because you don't necessarily want to be the friend that's coaching your friends. If you're finding that's coming up for you a lot, or you're new to business and you're mostly working with people that are acquaintances and you're wondering why people aren't following through, you may just need to expand a little outward to people who are just meeting you for the first time and actually do see you as a coach versus as a friend first. I think that may really helps. So that was just like a little sidebar that I wanted to give you, because I know that that comes up for a lot of new entrepreneurs, especially because they're like going through their warm market. So just a quick recap. Whether you are working with friends, family, or clients, when you start to pick up on negativity, you're seeing contrast. Contrast is a good thing. It's bringing you closer and giving you more clarity around what you actually do want. As long as you shift the focus to go, oh, okay, that's what I don't want. So that works for jealousy or resentment, anything, right? If you're comparing yourself to other people, you see that jealousy because somebody else made $1 million this month online, and you're like, well, I only made 1,000. And you're getting mad about it. Well, great. It's because you're focusing on the fact that you're not there yet, but it's giving you clarity on where you want to go. Does that make sense? Secondly, when you are trying to help support people and guide people, you have to first get in rapport with them. When you get in rapport with them, you can help lead them into a better state. You can help lead them towards a better conversation. And you can also, once you're in rapport, have a more open conversation about, hey, this is our relationship right now. This is what I would have. Would you be game for really up-leveling in this way? And then the last thing is giving people those reframes, not giving advice, not giving that heavy consulting advice. Like, we want to keep it open coaching, whether it's clients or friends and family. You can kind of slip it in here and there. I just do it automatically now because I'm just trained in it and that's what I'm doing all day long. But we don't want to be over the top with our family. And then they're like, why are you asking so many questions? Just trying to have a conversation with you. So don't become that person, but know that it's there for you to use. And if you feel that intuitive hit that you should say it and you should give them that advice, or not advice, you should give them that suggestion, then absolutely jump in and go for it. So that is what I have for you today. If you're not already inside the Facebook group, Online Coaches Manifest and Monetize, you have got to come hang out. That group is popping right now. So many amazing people asking incredible questions. There's so much great conversation happening in there. So you can go to heyjencasey.com/group to check it out and come join us. So thank you so much for being here, and I'll talk to you soon.